sounds like during that meeting at the White House that the president was talking more about what the compromise was going to look like rather than the opening salvo, right?
Which is good news. Maybe that's why we did see not a bad reaction yesterday in stocks, although now we're negative, down 17 on the Dow. Let's get a reaction right now from what you just heard. Seth Hanlon of the Center for American Progress says it's the way to go. But CNBC contributor Sarah Fagan says the president's plan is not serious because it does not address real structural changes needed to fix the problem. Good to have you both with us. Thanks so much for joining us. Seth, let me kick this off with you. President Obama's plan is advocating tax increases, but almost no net spending cuts. How do you resolve this crisis without cutting spending significantly, really putting a knife to some of these expensive programs?
Well, I don't think that's true at all. There's substantial spending cuts. I mean, first of all, we've already cut spending by $1.5 trillion as part of the first part of this deficit reduction framework last year. Those spending cuts will take place over the next decade. Also in his offer is another $400 billion in cuts, targeted cuts to health care programs. And I really think that we shouldn't, like you said, take the knife to fundamental programs like Medicare and Social Security. I mean, the president's plan is the plan that he presented to the American people and won the election on. And certainly the plans that would cut or fundamentally restructure Medicare, turn it into a voucher program. Those proposals were rejected by the voters.
I don't think that's what we're talking about, Seth. We're not talking about a vote.
Does that do anything to the debt? Does that do anything to the debt, though?
It's a great question, Maria. That's the biggest challenge with this proposal that the president put out, is that he's actually talking about new spending. Additional payroll benefits, additional unemployment benefits, and his very proposal underscores the need for tax reform so that we don't keep doing these stopgap measures which cause uncertainty to our businesses. I think the proposal was not serious. And I look back to 2001, 2003 when the Bush tax cuts were first enacted. I mean, this is akin to President Bush going out there and proposing we have a top rate of 17 or 18%.
Right, but Sarah, let's face it, it's a first
Except he didn't
salvo.
run and win an election on that.
It's the beginning of the process. It's not the end of the process. So what would you expect the president to come up with? He's not going to go that close to what he's expecting to get in the end. He's going to start from another place. So how does the Republican Party respond to that? I mean, what's the opening salvo for the GOP right now, Sarah?
Well, I think the Speaker has put it out there, Bill. He's already said we would agree to $800 billion in new revenue, and we can talk about how to get there. You could. And
no rate increases, and a closing of loopholes, and capping of deduction. So, I mean, is that what we're talking about now? We've got one side against the other right now. So why don't we just let these guys get together in a room and solve the problem? Find some place in the middle here.
You know, I have an issue with these opening salvos, though, Bill. I got to tell you, we're 31 days away. Okay, this whole agreement was put into place 13 months ago. They should have started working on this 13 months ago.
Well, they should have.
To say, here's my opening salvo, $1.6 or $1.2 trillion.
Where's the Republican salvo?
Well, we got to get to work,
They don't even have a salvo.
Here's the bottom line, though. This is about presidential leadership. He's the man with the bully pulpit, and he has an opportunity to turn whatever package gets done into the Obama growth plan or the Obama deficit reduction plan and own it and embrace it, and he's not doing that. It is very typical of his leadership.
The president feels that's why he was reelected, because this is exactly what he's been running on, this program that he's now proposing here.
Right. And as Maria pointed out earlier, he was at $800 billion in tax revenue, which is where Boehner is. We could get to a deal very quickly.
Why do we all focus so much on taxes and revenue? Let's talk about spending cuts. I mean, what's your take on where to cut? Because, Seth, a moment ago you said, you can't put a knife to some of these entitlement programs. So what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to get our arms around the debt and deficits? Are we trying to create jobs? What is the goal of this whole charade?
Both. I wouldn't call it a charade. We're trying to do two things. In the near term, we're trying to keep this recovery going, and that's exactly why the payroll tax holiday extension is so needed and the small amount of new investments and unemployment insurance in the president's offer. But that has to be balanced, of course, in the long term with real spending cuts. We've done already $1.5 trillion. He's got another $400 billion plus the interest savings. So it's a balanced approach. If you add it all up, it stabilizes the debt over the next decade. And if we did that, that would be a tremendous step forward.
Where would those $400 billion in spending cuts come from, then?
So they come from public health care programs, but not through cuts to beneficiaries. But they're real cuts, and I have to say at this point the president is the only one who's actually put spending cuts on the table. Where's the Republican offer?
He has not put his Medicaid cuts on the table. He put a number on the table, and what I think one of the challenges, you'll expect that to come from the hospitals, from the nursing home groups. You'll expect that money. He expects that money to come out of corporate America, again, which is another tax, so to speak, on business certainty.
All right, we got to go, folks, but at least we don't have to solve the problem. But we have it left in somebody else's hands, unfortunately, right now. Thank you both for joining us today.